All right. So here we are. We are on, it's topic 5, but we are on lesson 3, so it's lesson 5.3. Topic 5, lesson 3. Multiplying fractions and, wait for it, mixed numbers. So this is a typical problem, word problem, not a story problem. It's not much of a story. And it's going to show you the visual for this problem. Let's read through. So we've got a bird bath. I don't have a bird bath really. A bird got garden, but not a lot of bird feeders. Bird bath can hold 2.5 gallons of water. That's a lot of water. The bird bath is 3/4 full. Okay. How many gallons of water are in the bird bath? Because it can hold only 2.5 gallons total, and it's only 3/4 full. It's not totally full, it's only 3/4. Use the grid to draw a model and solve how to solve the problem. Well, if you think about it, 2.5 gallons. So let's take what they said, and it's 2.5 gallons of water. So here's 1 whole gallon, here's 2 whole gallons, and here's 2.5, right? So that's the maximum water that this bird bath can hold. All right, now of that 2.5, how would you show 3/4 full? Well, you got to remember a couple things. We're going, I don't want to use that color. We're going vertical up and down, and then horizontal left to right, or like a horizon, right? Well, left to right is 1 whole, 2 whole, and then a half, right? So there's your 2.5. So let me undo some of this stuff. So here is the 2.5. Great. Well, that means that I need to only highlight the vertical part 3/4. Well, that seems pretty easy because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and I'm only going to highlight 3 of those, 3 out of 4, hence the 3/4. So let's do that by choosing a different color. Let's go with, how about a nice blue? So I'm going to, of this 2.5, right, I'm going to highlight 1/4, 2/4, because it's 2 out of the 4 rows going up and down, 3/4. Not perfectly filled in, but that's all right. Okay, so of that 2.5 gallons, I just highlighted 3/4. So the question is, how much is that? Well, these are each worth 1/16, these little squares, right? 1/16, because there's 16 in one whole, okay? So let me get rid of that. Now, I could count all those and convert it, or I could look at this and think, can I borrow some of the squares over here and fill in, see how many holes I can get before I stop. So I'm going to take, let's do red. I'm going to borrow one of these and put it here. I'm going to borrow another one of these, put it here, another one of these, put it here, and a fourth one and put it here. Okay, I have at least one hole so far. Now, how much do I have left? Well, I've only got 2 left on the far side there. So I'm going to take one from here, and I'm going to add it to this one. One from here, add it to this one. All right, so this one, let me get the eraser. So this third hole is gone because I used up all those squares. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change these, if I can, to that blue so they look like they're part of it. Okay, we count those. All right, so we've got one hole, because this is all filled in, one hole, and so that means we have a fraction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 out of 16. And 14 out of the 16 are highlighted with blue. Well, I don't want to keep 14 out of 16 that way because I can simplify that, can't I? If I divide both the 14 and the 16 by 2. Well, 14 divided by 2, or cut in half, is 7, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. And I can't reduce that because there's no number besides 1 that goes into both 7 and 8. So that's the visual way to do it. And this is the next slide, coincidentally. I'm going to get rid of my stuff here. Shows you what we just did. Oops, undo that and go back. Good. Now here's one similar. It's a visual and it gives you the answers. It looks similar, but it's different a little bit. Now we've got a hummingbird feeder. So it's a bird feeder, but it's a little different. They're tiny and they're incredibly fast. So 2 1/4 is what it can hold, right? That's all it can hold. It's half full. So this going this way, this is our 2 1/4, right? That's the maximum, 2 1/4. Let me fill this in. Good. So that's the most this thing can hold is 1 whole, 2 whole, and then 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So that is 2 1/4, just like it says down here. Let me come back, just like it says down here. So going from left to right, it's filled in 2 1/4. Well, it says that the bird feeder, the hummingbird feeder, is only half full. So out of all this 2 1/4, you're going to highlight only half of it. 1 row, 2 rows. And I'm going to do that with a different color. Let's use, let's see, red. Make it stand out. So there's 1 row, 2 rows. So I'm going to highlight 2 rows all the way across. So that is 1/2 times 2 1/4. And what do we have? Well, we've got 1, let's see, let me use my pointer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So there's 18 16ths because each of these squares is 1/16, right? So that's an improper fraction, and I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to have a whole number part and a fraction part. So 16, how many 16s can I get out of 18? Well, I can get 1, and the denominator stays the same. Well, what's left over if I pull 16 out of the 18? 2. 1 and 2/16. But I have to simplify the 2/16, don't I? Well, what number goes into both 2 and 16 besides 1? 2. 2 goes into 2 once, so I'm dividing both of these by 2. And 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I filled in 1 whole cup and 1/8. Well, let's see if that is one of our, yes, it is, right here. They had 9/8, but then they simplified it to 1 1/8, which is what we got. All right, we get to something that looks a little different. This shows you not visually, but how do I do this just using numbers mathematically, okay? So they've got, and this is a great one because it walks you through it. The problem is 2/3 times 6 1/2. And you can really, when you multiply fractions, you can really think of the multiplication symbol as of. What's 2/3 of 6 1/2? So what they do here is, and they show you the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. First, they converted the mixed number, 6 1/2, into an improper fraction, right? How do we do that? Well, remember, hopefully you remember, if I've got this situation, I think like a backwards arrow. I'm going to multiply the whole number by the denominator and add the numerator. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13, and the denominator stays. So 13 halves, which is what they have right there, right? Okay, let's go ahead and see what they did. So now they have 2/3 times, instead of 6 1/2, 13/2, right? So now it's in fraction form. And you see what they did here, they cross-reduced. Remember how to do that. You look at the opposites, numerator denominators, and you see if they have a common factor. Well, 13 and 3 don't. The only number that goes into both is 1. But 2 and 2 do because 2 goes into 2. So you divide both those 2's by 2, and they change to 1. Now you can rewrite, let's rewrite that as 1/3, 1/3, times 13 stayed, and the 2 be converted to a 1. Boy, talk about easy multiplication. And 1 times 13 is 13. 1 times 3 times 1 is 3. And there's our answer, 13 thirds. But it is not simplified because that's improper. So we convert it to 4 1/3. And remember how we did that. 13 thirds. To convert it to a mixed number, you keep the denominator the same, but then you think, how many wholes or how many threes, because that's how many pieces are in a whole with this fraction, how many threes can I get out of 13? Well, 3 goes into 13, what, 4 times? 4 whole times. How much is left over? 4 times 3 is 12. Ooh, 1 left over. So the answer should be, it is 4 1/3. Okay, here is a typical problem you will see in the assignment. And you've got it's not a story problem, a word problem. The road up a mountain is 3 1/3 miles long. Great. The first lookout point is 1/4 of the way to the top. How far is it from the start to the first lookout point? Well, remember, the first lookout point is only 1/4 of the way to the top. Well, how far is the top? Well, it tells you right here, 3 1/3 miles. So that's why I was saying the of part. So really you're looking for how much is 1/4 of or times 3 1/3. And you can see what they did over here. And they tell you how to do it. Take the mixed number and make it an improper fraction. Go ahead and cross reduce if you can. And you don't have to do this, but it does make it easier. And then go ahead and multiply straight across. So this is a really good example. Let's go to one that they don't give you an example. So here we have, quick one, school marching band practices for 2 1/3 hours after school on Friday. I know that 2 1/3 is going to be important, so I'm going to write it down. The band spent 3/4 of the time practicing the routine that they will perform. How long did the band practice the routine? So again, we're looking for how much is 3/4 of the time. Well, how much time did they do? 2 1/3 hours. So we're looking for 3/4 of or times 2 1/3. Okay, let's do their steps. Let's change our color. 3/4. Remember, I have to convert the other number, the mixed number, to an improper fraction. Remember how to do that. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so that 7 goes here, and the denominator stays the same. Now, I multiply straight across, but I want to cross reduce. I can't cross reduce the 7 and the 4 because the only number that goes into both is 1, and that doesn't help me. I can, however, cross reduce the 3 and the 3. Well, what number goes into 3? 3. 3 divided by 3 is, that's right, 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I can change those to 1s. Now I've got 1/4 times 7 over 1. I like that. Multiply across. 1 times 7 is 7. 4 times 1 is 4. Simplify that to 1 3/4. And I'm done. I'm going to pass on doing this example because I think I've gone through enough. But this one is important to remember, just real quick. When you multiply a mixed number, if it's a mixed number, it's got a whole number as part of it, right? I mean, even 1 1/100th is bigger than 1 because it's 1 and a little more. So when you multiply a mixed number by a proper fraction, so the denominator is bigger than the numerator, like 1/4, is the answer greater than or less than the mixed number? Explain. Well, if you think about that, the proper fraction is less than 1. It has to be. It's a fraction. So it's going to be 2/5, 3/7. So it's less than 1. A proper fraction is less than 1. When you multiply a given number by a number that's less than 1, the product has to be less than the given number. So whenever you multiply by a fraction, the lesson is when you multiply anything by a fraction, because you're multiplying something by a number that is less than 1, it can't possibly be bigger than it was. So it has to be less. All right, that's all we have. And please drop me an email if you need a little bit of clarification on any of this. And now you can go ahead and get going on your digits assignment for 5.3 PRG. Have a great day, everybody.